All right, we're live. Hey, thank you so much for joining me. Quick show for you today. I'm Mitch Goldberg. You're watching Be the Boss of Your Money. We're all on watch for the government shutdown. Now, it seems like we were facing a government shutdown 3 months ago. It was over the budget, the debt ceiling, not the budget. It was over the debt ceiling. Should we raise the debt ceiling? In other words, our government is funded in two ways. It takes in tax revenues, and if it spends more than tax revenues, it does take in some fees, things like that. But most of it that's above and beyond tax revenue is we borrow it. So we needed to raise the amount of money that the U.S. government could borrow in order to pay for the bills of the United States. So there was an impasse. We came out with an agreement to cut funding to the IRS, freeze funding for mandatory programs like defense and Medicare and Medicaid, only giving them only 1% increases, which is like a budget cut because inflation is more than 1%. Faster permitting, even the natural gas pipeline from West Virginia to Virginia was approved, makes natural gas and oil drilling permitting easier, and money for border, a whole bunch of goodies where there is a compromise between Democrats and Republicans to raise the debt ceiling. It won't have to be fought about again until after the next presidential election. So we get this debt ceiling relief, no government shutdown, and we go on with our lives. So why are we faced with another government shutdown? It seemed like we just went through this. What makes this one different is this is not about raising the debt ceiling. Raising the debt ceiling is what enables the U.S. government to have the money that it needs. Okay, let me see if I can say this the best way possible. Raising the debt ceiling means the U.S. government now has access to the money it needs to pay its bills. The budget fight that we're going through now is about how do we spend that money. So first we had to agree to get the money, and now we have to agree on how to spend the money. That's what's going on right now, the budget process, how to spend the money. There were 12 appropriation bills or 12 major departments of the U.S. government. Each one of them has a budget, and each one of them needs to be funded. That's why there are 12 appropriations bills. I think the last time all 12 appropriation bills were completed and funded was 1997. So here and all the other years, what happens all the other times there's a budget fight, it's just we come up with a continuing resolution. We raise them all typically by the same amount. Some may be a little higher than others. But basically, by and large, we just do an agreement. This is a very painstaking, time-consuming thing to do. And apparently, no one's been working on this in Congress since June when the debt ceiling was raised. There's been nothing done on it. Now it seems like politicians are trying to slap something together now to just push something out so they could say we raised, the government didn't shut down. It's not really an organized way to go about coming up with a budget agreement. But then again, shutting down the government is not a way to do it either. We're not going to cut the national deficit in 1 year. It's something that has to be looked at over a 15 or 20-year period, in my opinion, and hopefully reduced gradually. But we can't do it that fast. It's just too big. So this is what's going on with it. So I'm going to just roll the quick intro and let you know what's going on. I just want to shout out to Renee. Thank you, Renee. Hey, Mitch, on a plane to Nashville, headed to Orlando. Glad I caught you before we begin taxiing. I'm so glad you could join me, Renee. And it's a pleasure to be friends with you now on Facebook as well. All right, so let's roll a quick intro, and then, we'll just get through this really quick. Here we go. All right, we're back. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm just trying to pull up a different screen. All right. So, first, we're going to do is take a look at what the appropriations are. I know this is, we're going to take a look on Wikipedia, but this is a pretty good description. I'm going to just make this a little bigger so you can all see it. All right. Make this even bigger, bigger, bigger. Here we go. Da, 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 da. All right. Got me over here. Boom. Okay, I'm supposed to be somewhere in this screen. All right, here I am. All right. So these are the 12 appropriation bills. There's the Senate and the House subcommittees, but they're the same committees. Okay. You've got agriculture, rural development, FDA related agencies. Okay. You've got commerce, justice, science, defense department, energy and water development, financial services and general government, homeland security, interior environment, labor, health, human services, legislative branch, military construction, VA, okay, state, foreign operations and related programs, transportation, housing and urban development known as HUD, and related agencies. All right. So all of these are supposed to my seat collapsed a little bit. All of these are supposed to be fully funded. It takes a long time. These are all gigantic parts of the budget. And instead of going one by one and having the head of each branch determine a budget and then going to Congress and saying, this is how much we need, this is how much more we need than last year, this is where we could be efficient, this is where we could be aggressive with employing technology, for example. No one is doing that. It's just a constant free for all. No one thinks about it until we get up to that point. And it is ridiculous. And if you think this whole debt ceiling business and then the budget business is a joke, it really is. And it's not being done right. But I, for one, do not advocating burning the house down to get a better budget for the family. That's just my opinion. You're free to differ. So that is how we look at that. And what is affected in the case of a government shutdown? You probably won't feel it very much in the beginning. Now, what happens is essential services like our military, people who have to take care of getting money out to recipients of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, those people have to keep working. They won't be getting paid, but they are essential workers and they will continue to work. They have to. They will get paid all their back pay once the budget deal is in place. But if you need money to pay your car lease and your rent this month and saying you're not going to get paid for 2 months, that might not help you very much. So it does create a hardship for people in our government. There's about 4 million people in government jobs. That means about 2 million of them are military. The rest are civilian. And most of those people will be sent home. They won't be working. They won't be collecting a paycheck. But by law from 2019, they all will get paid their back pay. That makes sense since a budget impasse that causes a government shutdown is really not their fault. Okay. But the Congress will continue to get paid. Your congressmen, your senators, they will continue to get paid. It won't affect Social Security, Medicare beneficiaries, recipients, that is. What it will affect is people newly applying for benefits. It could affect them. It will not affect the Justice Department. It will not affect the cases, the 4 big cases. Well, it won't affect the government cases against former President Trump. So those will continue to go on as well. So if you're like, say you're going to shut the government down and defund, that you're not defunding those cases. Some people think it will, it won't. Let's take a look at bonds first. Yields continue their inexorable climb higher. So you've got 3 months at almost 5.5%, 2 year at 5.13%, the 10-year at 4.55. You could actually purchase a 10-year zero coupon bond, and also known as a strip. That means instead of having a bond that pays interest, You get a bond at a substantial discount and it accretes in value over time. And for about $63,000, you could put money, you could buy $100,000 worth of 10-year zero coupon treasury bonds. And in 10 years, that'll be worth 100,000. That's about a 4.7% yield to maturity. So that is one way to plan for, hey, I need $100,000 in 10 years. How much is that going to cost me now? If it sounds like an annuity, it pretty much is, except in this case, the funds are guaranteed and backed by the full faith and credit of the United States, as opposed to annuities, which are guaranteed based on the claims paying ability of the actual insurance company itself. There's a distinction that we need to make for compliance purposes. So what I think what some people could do who are looking to invest money is you could invest $63,000, for example, in this zero coupon bond. Let's say $62,000. You could put $38,000 into an S&P 500 index fund that's $100,000. You're guaranteed to get your $100,000 at the end, just because the zero coupon bond will be worth $100,000 in 10 years. And now you've got that $38,000, which if it goes to zero, you still come out ahead. I'm not going with inflation here because that's a different story, but you still get your principal back. The odds of the $38,000 you have in the stock market going to zero are kind of low, in my opinion. And if that happens, we'll probably have much bigger things to worry about than the stock market. That means the stock market would have to go to zero if you didn't get any of that money back. So the $38,000 potentially over 10 years could double in 7 years if it grows at 10%. A little bit less than 10%, it could double. So in 10 years, you could have $138,000 with a guarantee of not losing anything. These are the kinds of ways, by the way, that we put together investment portfolios to suit a client's particular risk tolerance. So these are things to think about. But interest rates are pretty good. You're getting money. You're making money in your cash. Incidentally, the interest on Treasury bonds issued by the U.S. Treasury, are free from state income tax. Let's take a look at the stock market. All right. So the Dow is down almost 400. It was down over 400 earlier in the day. It recovered a tiny bit toward the end. The Nasdaq taking a beating, down 1.5%, almost 1.6%. S&P 500 down 64 points, down 1.5%. The VIX is almost up to 20. At this point, let me tell you what it looks like. Amazon was down over 4%. And Costco is a stock that I mentioned at the top of the show, in the title of the show. Costco came out with some pretty good numbers. Stock was down almost 6 in the regular trading of the market. It's down another $9 after market trading. And if you take a look at some of the other stocks that we cover, that we look at, the big stocks I'm talking about, I shouldn't say we cover, that we look at. Okay. Let's see, industrials. I'm just going to get to the big FANG stocks, the type of stocks we all look at every single day. All right. If you look here, Meta, which is Facebook, was down $2. Nvidia down 3, Tesla down almost 3, Netflix down over 5, Microsoft down over 5, Google down over 5, Apple down over 5. Amazon down over 4%, down over $5. These aren't in and of themselves huge drops, but it just goes to show you that here's where we are in the market. Earlier in the year, investors were tripping over themselves to buy these stocks before the next investor could buy them because they kept going up. Now, investors are tripping over themselves to sell these stocks, to liquidate positions before the next investor sells them and drives them down even lower. So we are right now in a race to go lower, and this is a reason I think to be pretty bearish. But more importantly, the interest hikes that the Fed has put in place so far, 11 so far, we're just now starting to see these really impact the economy. Cost of money is higher. Cost of leasing a car, buying a car, anything to do with financing is higher. And the cost of discounting a company's future earnings till now makes future earnings worth less money. That's how interest rates work, which is not good for the stock market, because now we have to say, if the stock market is based on some hoped for value based on future earnings. Well, if those future earnings are worth less now because interest rates are higher, then you have to consider that the stock market is probably not going to go up as much as people thought, which means if that's the case, we're less bullish and stocks start to go down now. That's the way this whole thing works. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you got something out of it. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments, whatever we're talking about today. I love hearing from you. It's the best part about what I do. And while you watch, if you're watching the live or in the replay, give me a thumbs up, a heart, an applause, a wow reaction. It helps the rest of your contacts see the show. It's all educational, and I love sharing. All right. Have a great day. Talk to you tomorrow.